Lazy keto, is that a thing? Stick around and I'll teach you what I think lazy keto really is. Looking around at several of the articles out there about keto being the lazy version, I contend these people are not in ketosis at all. The keto diet can be really intimidating. It is a very restricted carbohydrate diet, and at first it feels like you're giving up one of your best friends. But as your body chemistry gets better and your metabolism grows stronger, I believe a ketosis diet could be for a lifetime. And in fact, it is the best anti-inflammatory diet I see for my patients. Let's unpack the ketogenic diet and what this lazy keto version really is talking about. Looking at the definition of what people say lazy keto is really all about, they're adding more carbohydrates than they really should. The ketogenic diet really is a state of chemistry, and we can tell if you're in a ketogenic diet or not by whether or not you're making ketones. So being a lazy keto, I think, is really saying I'm just not quite keto. Another way that I've seen this term used is they'll be really strict on the ketogenic diet during the week, and on the weekends, they'll have half of their calories from carbohydrates. In fact, there's been a couple of studies where they've looked at athletes using a really strict ketogenic diet versus one where they carb cycle on the weekends. And I think some folks using the words lazy keto are really carb cycling. If you take a close look at that study, those athletes had very few days where their body was really therapeutically in ketosis. Just those couple of days on the weekends where they had half of their calories come from carbohydrates, their body would take almost 3 or 4 days to get into a strong ketogenic state. And by that time, it was almost the weekend again. So they maybe only spent a day or so per week in a ketosis setting. What happened with that is they didn't have the metabolic strength or the rapid repair times that athletes are boasting about while using the ketogenic diet. I do think there are some hacks out there that allow you to claim to be a lazy keto dieter. So let me show you some of the hacks that I like. When I think of the word lazy, I think of what's the hardest part about being on the ketogenic diet. And sometimes at the beginning, it's knowing what to eat and knowing if they've really been able to stay in ketosis by having the few carbohydrates that they did have. So if I look at the laziest way to approach that, I tell folks to do a strict fast for 36 hours. Yeah, there's nothing lazy about that. But what happens when you are 36 hours into not eating anything but salt and water is you're for sure in ketosis. So now that we've shifted your chemistry into ketosis, I tell patients to check, make sure you're in ketosis. The best part about this diet is that you can measure it. 36 hours into salt and water only, and I tell patients to have a monitor that checks ketones at their home. You can get one of these off the internet, and it checks both glucose in your blood and ketones in your blood. And this is a lazy way to make sure you know you're in ketosis. Poke your finger and check your numbers. If at 36 hours you are like most people and making plenty of ketones, now I want you to only eat fat, high-fat meals and no carbohydrates for the next couple of days. And what happens over these next few days is your body really does burn up the easy-to-reach glucose molecules. First, you'll find those glucose molecules in your bloodstream, and the second place you'll find them is stored as glycogen in your liver cells and in your muscle cells. No carbohydrates go in at all, and you keep watching to see what your ketone level is over that first couple of weeks. As you add back foods, this is where the lazy part comes from. You don't have to guess to see whether or not you're in ketosis, and you don't need a long list of foods. Adding back one food at a time that contains some carbohydrates will tell you whether or not you're in ketosis. So let's say you add back cabbage, one of my favorite vegetables on the ketogenic diet. I smother it in butter, and I usually put some garlic in with it, and I broil it, so it's kind of got a browned effect. I love it, and I've been known to eat a little too much cabbage when I'm craving carbohydrates on the ketogenic diet. So if I start by adding cabbage as the first non-high-fat meat back to the ketogenic diet, and I check my numbers, you'll know if you're still in ketosis. This is the lazy way to approach the ketogenic diet, where you don't want to keep track of carbs, you don't want a long grocery list or take up some new baking skills with almond flour and coconut flour to make the recipes stay ketogenic. You want it simple and easy, the lazy way. So start out with a 36-hour fast, add back only fat and high-fat meat. So it's brisket, or it's bacon, it's Braunschweiger, which is also known as liverwurst. It's sardines. It's cold cuts of meat. So high-fat meat. Ribs are another great example. Chicken wings, buffalo wings are another really good example of high-fat meat. And you stick with that for the next several days. When you add back the next layer of foods, just be sure you check. If your ketones are still above 1.0, you're doing great. If you can keep them above 0.5, you're certainly in ketosis. And that is where you get the strength of a strong metabolism. So, how do you have a lazy keto? Number one, you start out with a strict fast, and then you start out with the fattiest of meats and add back foods while you're checking your ketones. The other lazy approach to a ketogenic diet is actually something I use for people who are just too sick to really dive in to switching their metabolism from glucose-fueled to ketone-fueled. When you do that, there are some transitional pains that you will have. Some people get the keto flu. Their brain gets really kind of grumpy or crabby, and they can feel depressed. If you want to use this hack on how to get your body into a ketogenic state, pour ketones into your circulation and let those mitochondria begin to use ketones on a daily basis before you start to restrict those carbs. Two ways that I show patients to use this. One is Ketones-In-A-Can, which is a powder form that you can mix with water, or I like it mixed with heavy cream, and adding that just a little sip throughout the day, you will find ketones in the circulation for at least 2 hours after taking a supplement. The danger of doing this is it's got a sweetener in it. The taste of ketones is kind of rotten, so we add a sweetener. This one has stevia in it. And that stevia can trigger people to crave carbohydrates. I fell victim to this when I first started using Ketones-In-A-Can. I hadn't had a sugar substitute in months, and the only way you could get the ketones in was to really use the sweetener with it. It wasn't just one time that I found myself craving for real carbohydrates after using that sugar substitute. That's when I said, let's just put the ketones in a capsule. In the last several months, I've gotten a lot better that if I do have a sugar substitute, the cravings aren't nearly as bad. But those epic fails made me really aware of people that do still struggle with cravings when they put that sweet taste on their tongue in a ketogenic diet. I put the ketones in a capsule with nothing else in them for this product. So again, they are ketones made in a chemistry lab, and when you swallow them, they will be in your circulation within a couple of hours. I encourage you to check. Within 15 minutes of taking ketones in a capsule or ketones in a can, you will see them in your circulation. And this hacks your body into using ketones, and it really does boost your metabolism. By the end of those 2 weeks, your metabolism is much stronger, and your ability to burn ketones and not go through the keto flu or a mental slump where your concentration is lower, where your mood is crabby, or where cravings really get the best of you. That's what these biohacks do. I don't recommend them for a lifetime. It's been 3 years since I've been on the ketogenic diet, and I still find myself having times where just adding ketones to my circulation helped me make a better decision in a moment of weakness, in a time of temptation. So to me, that's another way to be a lazy keto and still have evidence-based science behind improving your metabolism. Until next time, I'm signing off as Dr. Boz. We're trying to improve your health one ketone at a time. Thanks for tuning in.
Please subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. Stay tuned.